Alright, so when you're writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines, the first thing you need to find is the slope. Okay, so I'm going to just write some notes here. First, find the slope. Okay, so if you have a parallel line, oops, undo that. Parallel lines, the slopes are the same. And then if you have the perpendicular lines, that's when you have opposite reciprocal slopes. So just write opposite reciprocal.
Ew.
Okay, so I'm gonna do an example of each one of these, and hopefully that helps you. So let's find an equation that is parallel to, let's do 2x plus 3y equals 6, and it goes through the point, let's do -2, 4. Okay, so again, the first thing we need to do is find that slope. This equation here, it's written in standard form, so we have to rewrite it in slope-intercept form so we can find that slope. Okay, so first thing I need to do is move the 2x to the other side. Do that by subtracting 2x. So now I have 3y equals -2x plus 6. Okay, and then I need my y to have a coefficient of 1. So I have to divide all terms by 3. So then that leaves me with y equals -2/3 x plus 2. Okay, now this equation is written in slope-intercept form, and I can find my slope. It's right here, this -2/3. So here's what I know so far. I know that my slope is -2/3 because it's parallel, same slope, and it goes through this point. Now when you write your equation, I just write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. What we need for this equation is the slope, which we have, it's right here, and we also need the y-intercept, the b. We don't know it, so we're going to have to solve for it. And we solve for it by putting in the slope and then putting in that point. Okay, so y, using this point up here, the y value is 4. So I'm going to put in 4 equals, put in my slope of -2/3. My x in this point over there is -2, so then I'm going to write times -2, just put it over 1, plus b. Now I only have one variable in my equation, so I can solve for b. So -2/3 times -2 over 1, that becomes a positive 4/3. You have a plus b, and I also have equals 4. Okay. Now I need to subtract 4/3 to find b. So subtract 4/3 on both sides. And then what that gives me is that b equals 2 2/3. Okay, that's my y-intercept. So now I have my slope and I have my y-intercept. I am ready to write my final equation that is parallel to the 2x plus 3y equals 6. So now I keep my y, so y equals, put in the slope that I know, which is -2/3 x, and then my b, what I just solved for, which is plus 2 2/3. So this is the equation of that line that is parallel to the 2x plus 3y equals 6. Okay? Alright, find my slide thing. Alright, now let's find an equation of a line that is perpendicular. Okay? So we want to find an equation that is perpendicular to, oops, Let's do, use this real quick. There we go. Y equals 4/3 x minus 2. Okay. First thing we need to find is the slope. Oops, hold on, before we go that, perpendicular to that equation, and then let's have that go through 1, 5. There we go. Now we have a full problem. Okay, so back to the slope. We need to find the slope, and again, perpendicular lines, their slope, then it's that opposite reciprocal. Okay, reciprocal, that's something that we should know how to do. When we divide fractions, we have to find the reciprocal. Opposite is going to mean sign change. So if it was positive, it now becomes negative. If it was negative, it now becomes positive. And reciprocal, we can just again think flip. Okay? So right now the slope in this problem is 4/3. It's written in slope-intercept form, so we can find that slope right away. If it's not written in slope-intercept form, you may have to do some work first. Okay? So right now the slope is 4/3. To find the opposite reciprocal. Okay, well right now the slope's positive, so our new slope needs to be negative. And then 4/3, if we flip it, it becomes 3/4. So that is our slope of our line that's perpendicular. Okay? Same thing like parallel lines. We know the slope. We also have a point. We want to write our line in slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b. So we have a slope, we need to find our y-intercept. Again, we do that by plugging in our point that we know and our slope. So our point was 1, 5. That would give us a y of 5 equals our slope, what we just found, this negative 3/4, that's what we're going to plug into our equation now. So negative 3/4 times, and then our x from our point was 1. And then plus b. Okay? Alright, so now we're ready to solve for b. So 5 equals, well, negative 3/4 times 1 is just negative 3/4, and then plus b. And then to solve for b, we're going to add 3/4 to both sides. That gives us that b equals 5 3/4. And I'm not picky how you write your b. If you want a mixed number, improper fraction, decimal, however, just as long as we can get to this equation, we're doing good. Okay, so we have our slope. Oops, again we know it is negative 3/4. And we have our b, just solve for that's 5 3/4. Okay. So then to write our final equation that's perpendicular, it's going to be y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5 3/4. That's our equation that's perpendicular. Okay. I hope this helps clarify any questions that you have. We will continue to work on this section on Monday, just continuing practicing and answering any questions that I have not answered so far.